Hey guys, Troy Dooley, MLM Help Desk, and I'm shooting this video because yesterday, Don Ryan over at ASDupdates.com put out a information piece on Zeek rewards. Now, the reason I feel that this is important, and I want to cover it real quick, it's small, nothing major, is the fact that for months, the folks over at Fun Club USA have been, Fun Club USA, have been getting money, donated money from thousands, hundreds of thousands, I have no clue how many Zeek affiliates, but they said that they've collected enough money to pay for their legal defense. And in looking at everything that's been written over the last few months, they have been focused on fighting the clawbacks. And every now and then they talk about, we want to prove that Zeek rewards was legal and all that. But when you look at actually what they were fighting for, they're fighting against clawbacks. Last week, I was able to get a snippet from what everybody has written on a call that Mr. Craddock and his crew over there at Fun Club USA had. And they were once again talking about clawbacks and fighting the clawbacks and fighting the subpoenas. And their attorneys are going to prove that the SEC overstepped their boundaries. And then today, this comes out. And it says this was yesterday, November 6, 2012. Greetings, good people. The update of the conference call Saturday, November 3rd. For everyone that has received a subpoena for information from Mr. Kenneth Bell, you, like us, believe that Kenneth Bell is fishing for information to intimidate and to get you to voluntarily turn over monies you earned by bringing value to the Ziegler penny auctions. That's pretty evident. If people go look at that, there wasn't a lot of auctions. People seem to forget that you couldn't use credit cards for months, and they'd gone from thousands of auctions down to hundreds of auctions. As I clearly stated, you are not under any court order to turn over any funds, and it is our position that Zeek Rewards was a legal business model. Claims stating otherwise are false. Well, that's just because Robert was never on the inside. If he'd have been a paid consultant, he said in the meetings that I did, where people were frustrated because they didn't have enough of the auctions and everybody was working to make the RPP full of customer dollars instead of affiliate dollars, that wouldn't be an issue. You will be listed on the court records as being here we go. Our law firm is now willing to take on the people that have received subpoenas from Kenneth Bell. This is the part that's confusing to me, because all of these people have been donating money for months to a legal defense fund, and now Robert is getting ready to tell them right here that they got to put up more money. Listen to this. He says, our law firm is now willing to take on the people that have received subpoenas from Kenneth Bell and respond to them for you. The firm has come up with a flat rate for doing this, and it is quite affordable. You will be listed on the court records as being represented by the firm, and they will file an objection to Kenneth Bell's subpoena request for you. You have 14 days to file the objection, and the clock is ticking. Because this is only impacting a small percentage of people, we decided not to ask the entire group to help fund this, and the law firm has agreed to do this at a flat rate per person of $300. Only people that have received subpoenas should call the law firm. Please contact the attorneys. This is, to me, it's just weird, because if you've been collecting funds this whole time, and I've been saying this from day one, the funds that were given, they don't represent you. They're representing themselves. This is some of the stuff that people have been saying, Troy, you're wrong, you're wrong. Well, this right here, we're not going to ask other people to fund your legal defense. We ask them to fund ours, but not yours. And then they go on to say this is just a small percentage. Well, there's 1,200 people that received the subpoenas. So that isn't a small percentage. 1,200 people is a lot of people. I don't care, if you try to put that against the 2.2 million, sure, it's small. But if you're one of them that received the subpoena, it's a big freaking deal. That's the thing. And just on the call the other day, they were saying the subpoenas weren't even necessary. You didn't even have to worry about it. There was just a few things that maybe you'd have to deal with. And now they're saying, hey, man, you got to answer this in 14 days. There's just so much information that's going on out there that is not accurate. And it frustrates me, because I see good-hearted people. I get probably, I don't know, we probably get 70 or 80 calls a day still. And the emails are still in the hundreds of people saying, Troy, we don't know what to do. What do we do? Is it coming back? Is it not coming back? Is all this stuff that we're seeing, is it legit? Is it not? And it's like, you know what? I know the numbers. We all know the numbers. We all saw everything that was going on. The whole compliance team was hired in order to fight because people were calling it a return on investment. They were telling you to invest your money in Zeek rewards. They were telling you that, hey, just put your money in and in 90 days you get all this money out. The underlying business model of a penny auction is it's legal. Now, I think it might be regulated in the future, but it's legal. The problem was never the underlying business model. It's when you throw a compensation plan on top of it. And in this case, the RPP. And if people would go back to December 2011 and watch my video, it's what caused Dawn to say, Troy, can we talk? Because if we're out of compliance, we need to get in compliance. They hired Keith Lagos, Jerry Nara, Kevin Grimes. They hired an SEC attorney to try to get into compliance because of the issues. They'd sign contracts to put in the customer portal because they knew that they had to make changes. Qualifiers that you guys even griped about, some of the leaders, because nobody wanted to go out and recruit. Just go look at all. This is all public on my website, and you all were talking about it. You were talking about it, not me. I just responded to questions. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's what Don said. We're going to have customers, depending on what your point value is. We're going to fill this with customers. They bought a warehouse, but the warehouse was empty of products. They were still using eBay to try to fund and Amazon to fund some of this stuff. That's cool. But the auction account had gone down, not up. They'd stopped doing the big auctions. They'd lost credit cards. People weren't charged on their credit cards. You couldn't use credit cards on the auctions. You couldn't use credit cards to be in Zeek rewards. It dropped the volume. It didn't raise the volume. So people that are saying, hey, this was to bring value to the penny auction, sure, it was to bring value to it, but nobody was doing that. Very few inside Zeek affiliates were playing in the auctions. Very few people outside were playing in the auctions. That's what hurt the company. They didn't move fast enough. Should the SEC have worked with them? I can't make that decision because I don't know what they and Paul Burks worked out. I don't know what they showed Paul to show him that, hey, look, we put this in our supercomputers and the math isn't going to add up. I'm not stupid enough to think Paul didn't give them some kind of algorithm, but based on what they said, the algorithm wasn't exactly mathematical. It came out of his butt. I mean, that's my phrase, but that's kind of what they said. I don't quite think that's probably totally accurate. I think somewhere in his mind he probably had written down, focused on it, knew what he was doing. But I think what happened is the company grew to such a size that when all the funds are not being deposited on a 24-hour basis, that they're being held, that's where the issue comes into play. Because now you don't even know for sure that what you're doing will actually sustain itself. Because you've got, at least when they took over, 60,000 certified funds that had not been cashed. 60,000. If you listen to the critics of Zeek rewards, they're going to tell you that that was $10,000 each. And to a certain degree, they might be right. But let's just take it down from there. If that was only $2,500 per or $5,000 per, that's still 5,000 times 60,000 documents. You do the math. Okay, there's no way that you can have audited financials. There's no way that you can know what percentage of income versus outlay on a daily basis is when you're not depositing all the cash. So anybody that's trying to tell you that this was the perfect company, that this was a legitimate business model, that everything was done right, if the SEC hadn't shut it down and it would have imploded on itself and Paul Burks would have bankrupted it, and you would be in the same position. Instead of the courts coming after you, what you would have done is you'd have tried to go into the bankruptcy court and say, he owes me money. I paid the money, but I never got a service. That's what happens. This was a no-win deal unless the company could have sustained itself. And for whatever reason, Paul Burks, a U.S. citizen, surrendered his asset to the courts. And I challenge every one of you guys, go read all the court documents. You can go to Don Ryan's website, ASD Updates. You can go to our website, click on Zeek and read all of it. Whatever you want to do, but make sure you fully understand. Don't listen to the propaganda just on one side. Listen to the propaganda on both sides. And then you make a gut decision on what you want to do. Now there's plenty of attorneys in the play. And I tell you what, Alexander Rick's law firm, I did a piece on them last week. Reputable law firms seem to know exactly what they're doing, will probably represent people well. Philip Young has already received a boatload of new clients on this thing because he's worked in Ponzi cases. He's been a receiver. He understands this, and he's out there working on behalf of those that say, hey, we want to make sure that we don't get ripped off. We don't want to be coerced into doing something. So there's some attorneys out there working on your behalf. Just make sure you know everything on both sides. Live life like it's an epic adventure. Stay dangerous, stay strong, and if you're in network marketing, act like it.